Is it just me, or is something dreadfully wrong out there? Why can't we save our kids, protect them from these nightmares? Stories of little ones starved to death, left to fend for themselves like animals. Then the horror that claimed 2 young lives in Cowra. And just a few days before that, 3 children aged 9, 7 and 16 months killed by their own father. Innocent children who became victims in terrible, inexplicable crimes. Tonight, we'll try to make some sense of it all with a mother's own story. A courageous Karen Bell tells how a moment of madness and revenge destroyed her family.
I'm very angry, very hurt, and I'm just disgusted.
Was he trying to hurt you?
Yes. Yes. It's trying to make me feel guilty for the rest of my life, and I do.
It was the ultimate act of revenge. 2 weeks ago, on a bush property outside Eden on the far south coast of New South Wales, Gary Bell pumped the family car with deadly fumes, taking his own life and snuffing out the lives of his 3 children.
Was he ever angry with the children?
No. He was very strict, but he never hurt the children. He did love his children. He really did.
Their mother, Karen Bell, left the family home after being beaten by her husband. It would prove to be a fatal decision.
How difficult was that to leave the children behind?
Really hard. Really hard. But I knew that they were safe. I knew that Gary wouldn't hurt them.
You never doubted that?
Never doubted that. And I still can't believe it.
This is a wild and remote place. It was built by hippies 30 years ago in the spirit of peace and love, but gradually collapsed under the weight of drugs and alcohol and sheer isolation. For Gary and Karen Bell, this was to be their perfect life. But for them too, it quickly fell apart.
What was it that you liked about him when you first met him?
He was good looking, he was charming, and he was really nice.
Karen met Gary when she was just 18. He was 29. But very quickly, the charmer turned violent.
How long into the relationship was it before you saw he had an abusive personality?
I think it was about 2 years. He picked up an ornamental tree stump and threw it at me.
You obviously persisted though. But can you explain why?
Because most of the time he's a fantastic guy. Absolutely fantastic.
When did you decide that there was something wrong? That Gary was not the nice bloke you might have thought?
Probably the first fight we had.
Karen's brother Tom and her father Harold soon encountered Gary Bell's violent streak.
Oh, I thought he was a nice bloke, but well, like I said, I back-chatted anybody hit me, so...
He hit you?
Yeah. He just come up, grabbed him like that, bang, 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 straight in the car and locked the door. It was open, half a minute.
In the 15 years you were with him, how often would he have been violent towards you?
There'd be too many to count.
And normally what would you do?
Normally I would run, which is the only thing I could do. But I always went back because he would never let me take the children. And I wanted that family, stick together. The children loved him, I loved him. And we always worked it out.
The children were the bright lights in this family. Jack was 9, Maddie 7. and Bon just 16 months.
Jack, he loved football. He was smart. He was caring. All the girls loved him. He was just beautiful.
Maddie?
And Maddie, she wanted to be a model. She was more outgoing than any other girl. You know, she just wanted to be the noisiest. And she was just so funny and so loving. And Bon was only here for 16 months, but he was beautiful. He'd wake up 6 times at night just for a cuddle. And he'd follow you around the house all day. He was beautiful.
To the outside world, it looked like the picture-perfect family. But Gary's violence was taking its toll.
Fat lip, chipped teeth, finger marks on me, sore all over, redness from where I was being kicked. And
That's a very serious beating you're talking about.
yeah, yes, it was really hard on the kids. They found it very hard seeing their mother hurt. They were torn, and they wanted us to be together.
There was a pattern of behaviour, is that right, when these violent outbursts occurred, when you would leave?
Yep. Stay away for about a week. Gary would come back, bring the kids, telling me he was sorry. The kids missed me. So we always got back together.
2 weeks ago, as yet another argument at the family home turned violent, that pattern of behaviour was about to change.
Saturday evening, she rang me at about 8:30. And
Tracy Wilson and her partner Peter Parada are Karen's friends and neighbours.
And while I was on the phone, Gary was abusing her in the background, and he started ripping her hair out. And he was drunk. I could hear him drunk in the background, and he was abusing her.
I rang the police. The phone was ripped out of the wall. And eventually I got away and ran down to a neighbour's to ring the police again, where they took him away. And he was charged with assault and put in AVO.
This would be his third apprehended violence order, all of which were reported to child welfare authorities. But remarkably, Gary was released within a few hours.
And he calls you, is that right?
Calls me the next morning.
And what did he say?
He told me that he was allowed to come home and he needed to be picked up, and so I went and picked him up.
I was shocked. Like Karen, why'd you pick him up?
Couldn't
And
believe
then-
she'd done that.
Oh, and then I think what convinced her, Maddie said to her, "Yeah, I want to see Daddy. I want me Daddy." And just pulled on her heartstrings, and she went and picked him up.
I thought, I could bring him home and I could take the kids and go. But as soon as he got home, he wouldn't let me take the kids.
So once again, Karen left the children with Gary and fled to her parents' home in Bega. But after 4 days, she began to worry.
Karen contacted me and said to me that her auntie and uncle were worried because there'd been no noise from the house, from the property, and that would I go out there and check to make sure the kids were all right.
You were hesitant.
I was hesitant because because when Gary is like this, I was a bit scared of Gary.
You then called the police.
I called the police and said to them that I asked them, I almost begged them. I said to the policeman, I said, please, I really think you should go. Something is not right. I do feel something is wrong. And I can't believe I said it, but I said to them, I'm going to go out there and find dead bodies. And And he said, oh, no, everything will be all right. And they said they didn't want to upset Gary. It's like, who's worried about upsetting Gary? What about the children?
So you set out Friday morning to go to the property?
Up the driveway. And I was yelling out the whole time, like, Gary, kids, you know, Maddie, Jack. And there was no noise, there's nothing. And then I went into the house through the back door. There was just nothing. And I was heading towards Peter. And that's when I seen him. He looked into the four-wheel drive. And he just started screaming at me. He said, get the back in the car. And I said, they're dead, aren't they? And he said, just get in the car. And I said, they're dead, aren't they? And I just fell down on the ground and I was just screaming. I couldn't stop screaming.
Gary Bell was meticulous in his planning. He jammed the back door closed so as no one could escape, taped up windows and used not one but 2 hoses to fill the car with exhaust fumes. This was a premeditated, cold-blooded killing.
Karen rang me and she said to me, I've just had a call from Diane, her auntie, and that there's a news report saying that a man and 3 children have been found dead. And I couldn't speak to her, I couldn't say anything. And I couldn't talk. I don't know how long it was, I couldn't say anything. And she said to me, Tracy, she said, please tell me, is it true? And I said, yes, it is true. I said, that their kids were dead.
I was screaming. And she was screaming. And it was the most horrible feeling in the whole world.
Disbelief, I imagine.
Yes. It was, yeah, I couldn't believe it. And I still couldn't believe it all day. And it's still very hard to believe.
Why do you think he did this?
He thought it was it. He thought he was going to jail.
He left a suicide note
Saying?
that, that he can't live without his kids and the kids can't live without me. And that's the end. And he said that he thought he was going to lose his kids and that he was going to go to jail.
The police and the Department of Community Services have all been under scrutiny over this tragedy. But no one, not even their mother, ever thought the children were at risk.
What could have been done to prevent this, do you think?
Ultimately, I don't think anything would have prevented him from doing it unless I had the children and he didn't see them.
You would have had to
I would
have
have
run.
had to run and hide. Would have had to disappear.
So how does something like this happen? And more importantly, could it have been prevented? It's always tempting to blame someone when something so tragic occurs. But ultimately, only one man is responsible for this crime. A father hell-bent on taking the lives of his children. For Karen Bell, though, that will never ease the pain.
I feel very guilty that I wasn't there to protect my children. Anybody who has a child knows that, that is all you live for. You live for your kids. You do everything for them you can. You try to make the best life you can. And they've just been taken away.
Hello, I'm Sarah Abo. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.